by my accent, you can tell I'm not a blowing from the Mourns, I'm a blowing from all the way from London. My name is Paul Clissold, I'm General Secretary of South Belfast UPRG. Having lived in this country 30 years and gained a degree of understanding, I've been put forward to speak on the UPRG's behalf. I want to thank Banbridge District PUL for inviting me. I think what they're doing here is excellent. It's being replicated throughout other towns now, I'm seeing. They're setting up a forum, the inviting of various politicians. They're not excluding anyone or excluding any particular unionist group, and I think that's the way forward. Our grouping is obviously against any form of cultural erosion, in this particular case flags, and we recognise that this is one in a long list, a long line of Sinn Féin inspired attacks on our way of life and identity. Flags is a particular example, marching bands, the Orange Order, British forces home and abroad, etc., etc. This is a tactic that's born out of a post-Good Friday decision from Sinn Féin to demonise us in any way possible. And if we go back as far as 1987, for those that can remember that, the UPRG produced the Common Sense document, the blueprint that John McMichael felt could achieve power sharing within a framework of non-violence. And one particular quote stands out now, and it is, "It is impossible to compromise on the existence of Northern Ireland itself. It exists or it doesn't. It is or it is not." And this is what we've always been leading up to, 1987, 1994, 2012. It's the Sinn Féin desire to make sure it isn't, and we have to make sure it is. Obviously, their attempt to demonise us has resulted in the current conflict regarding the flag. It's to lower the flag is to reduce our Britishness, in a sense. The band scene, they're demonising bands left, right and centre. The same with the Orange Order. Ardoin last year, this year it'll be something else, I'm sure. It's attack, 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 the death by 1,000 cuts, as Sinn Féin would see it. They're trying to reduce our belief, erase the trappings of our Britishness, and demoralise our people. And to a certain extent it's had an effect, but ironically the latest flags issue has galvanised support for the flag. It's galvanised support amongst the broader spectrum of unionism to come together. This isn't what Sinn Féin expected. Obviously it's been flag protests, and we've been part of the protests, and we agree with the right to peaceful protest. One or two incidents of violence haven't helped our cause whatsoever, and it's good to see finally that I think the Ulster People's Forum are beginning to realise that we would move away from this form of protest, carry on with the odd white line protest, but look at strategies, look at ways of we can challenge Sinn Féin without standing necessarily on the street corner with a placard. That doesn't seem to be having much of an effect. To answer the question specifically, we in the UPRG have encouraged all our members to challenge this form of cultural apartheid at any opportunity and at every level. Where we have previously had flagged protocols, and we have in some towns to minimise community impact, community effect, we've now cancelled those protocols, and we've encouraged, as I say, peaceful protests. None of this will get our flag back up, by the way. None of that. We have to enter into politics in a meaningful way, and it's great to see the young people here today, because we're going to have to politicise ourselves yet again. We're going to have to combine in a form of unionist, as I call, cooperation, not necessarily unionist unity, which will be hard to achieve, but we can certainly achieve unionist cooperation, and something like this tonight is one way forward. This is a lesson learned, and it's a shock to us all, but I hope that as many towns as possible replicate this particular way of doing things, to bring forward proposals, bring forward discussion papers so we can sit down at Stormont and discuss it with those people concerned. And speaking of Stormont, they have set up a unionist political forum. We have 2 representatives on it, Jimmy Birch and Jackie MacDonald, and we would see this as the official way forward to offer our opinions, to listen to the politicians' opinions, and try and reach some resolution or some promotion of a further unionist cooperation. To answer the actual question, I don't think I can alleviate your concerns at all, because the plans seem very forward. Looks like it's been all, the funding's been copper fast, and I believe I saw the First Minister today being interviewed about it, and the Deputy First Minister, for that matter, extolling its virtues. So there's no point saying it's not going to happen, because it appears to be taking shape very, very fast. I was part of a delegation a couple of years ago that went and looked at the then proposals for the Conflict Transformation Centre, and that aspect of it, I have to be honest, I was impressed with. There's the issue of the hospital wing, and it raises great concerns with people, and that was pretty much glossed over at the time. Now there's more things coming out, and it is a concern. It's a concern to our group. I also talked to people from the Maze area itself, and ex-combatants from the UDA, and again, I have to be honest, the consensus at the time was one of approval of the overall package, including the infrastructure improvements and improvements to the Maze village itself, and as I said, the Conflict Transformation Centre. Now, bearing that in mind, we've seen Sinn Féin and their plans at the moment, and the way they're attempting to demonise our culture. So we're taking a step back. We're taking more soundings regarding the Maze. We're not now entirely convinced that the plans as detailed will be enacted in a way that will give community confidence and community cohesion to our particular grouping. We're going to look at it again. We're going to speak to victims as well, listen to get some more soundings, and come up with a more better position paper in 2013. Well, the Good Friday Agreement copper fast and some things, but it clearly put some things on the back burner to be brought out at a later date, in the hope that things would be more settled. In hindsight, it's easy to say no now. I never actually bought into the Tony Blair list of pledges that was shopped around at the time. I'm sure some people can remember the advertising lobbies going around with his handwritten promises. I didn't believe him then, and I certainly don't believe him now. He was the ultimate con artist, smiling brightly and promising you a new dawn. The benefits, and it's all about perceptions, the benefits have been few and far between from what we perceive it as in loyalist areas. They're still in dire need of transformation, capacity building and confidence building measures. And strangely, Republican areas have done rather well out of the whole thing. And perceptions count. So if we feel like second-class citizens, we feel alienated from a process that appears to offer appeasement to a slanting, power-based Republican agenda, and that's our perception. But how do we address it? I think Billy's said the right things as well. It's called politics, and we have to re-engage in politics. That includes the people that feel alienated and let down by all the mainstream political parties. The only way, politics got us into this mess, and politics is going to have to get us out of this mess. So it's important that we do re-engage with our politicians. If you look at some of the social media networks, and I do all too frequently, the slating that politicians get is unfortunate, because these are the same people that in 2015, 2016, we're going to have to decide who we vote for. Now, I don't entirely blame all the politicians for the situation we find ourselves in. Some of it we have to look to ourselves. Have we politicised ourselves? Have we asked the right questions? Have we been to the politicians? Have we campaigned for what we believed in? Have we lobbied for things? I've been to Stormont many, many times. I haven't got much out of it, but I have been there many, many times. And it's important to engage with politicians, say, what can you do for me? But what can we as a group, as a community, do for you? We offer you our support. Now, let's see what the colour of your money is. It's not all about money, obviously, but I tend to go on about money when it comes to Stormont. So I think it's important that as loyalists, we get together, loyalists, PUL community, in area of Lisbon called Old Warren. We set up an electoral roadshow where we got over 40 people registered to vote. This is the type of thing that the UPRG is now doing, talking to young people, especially in the 17 to 21-year-old age bracket, and we're seeing more and more of these people wanting to become politicised. Now, it's better to be politicised than to be advised to go on the streets and then refuse bail if you get arrested. That's foolhardy and will leave a lot of young people in prison. So we can't have that. You have to politicise yourself, you have to keep within the legal framework that we find ourselves in, and look to our politicians and look to ourselves for solutions. We're the odd group out. The UPRG is not a political party. We're strictly a grassroots lobbying group and take all our support from predominantly working class areas. But by lobbying, we do see the impact that grassroots, local councillors, MLAs and MPs have. And I have to say in Banbridge we're particularly lucky in so much as we have a very good working relationship with David Simpson MP, whose door has always been open to our group and has helped us and assisted us in the past. We have some very, very hard-working MLAs, and I particularly know Joanne Dobson, who's come into our community, has come into our community and done so much hard work for us. We also have some excellent local councillors, in particular, like Glenn Barr, who's up and coming and is really full of passion and really wants to go places and is helping young people develop. So again, we appreciate that. And we also have Junior Barr. Junior McCrum, sorry. I think I've talked about it earlier, that unionist unity is I'm not sure that we can ever make it happen in so much as we can have strident loyalism, progressive loyalism, traditional unionism, moderate unionism, and then Basil McRae. I'm not sure what it is. So I don't think, I like to party shortly apparently. I don't think that that's actually achievable, but as I've said before, unionist cooperation, I'm all for. There's a possibility of combining or one solitary candidate who can gain a seat. Obviously we're fully behind that. In long-term aims, unification of our people behind community cohesion, behind regeneration is important, and we'll be all for that. So, but unity in and of itself, if we one main political party, I just don't see it ever happening.